get started. For those who joined, I'm Paul Connecton. I am the CMO here at Beeswax, and I am really excited to welcome to this fireside chat Arthur Quero. Did I pronounce your name right? I hope so. And our very own James Dempsey from our London office. So we do these things once in a while. We have our series called 15 Minutes with Beeswax. We have our fireside chats, and we have some large webinars. You know, as every other company is dealing with this, we've taken all of our events online, and so we hope you guys will enjoy this fireside chat with Keymantics, which is an adtech company in France. And with that, I will turn this over to James Dempsey from our London office, from Beeswax, who will host this fireside chat and learn how Keymantics drove 600% increase in performance using Beeswax and some of the advanced features that are really only available on Beeswax. So with that, I will turn it over to you, James.
Cool. Thank you very much, Paul. And thanks to everyone who joined, and welcome to our fireside chat with Keymantics. Arthur has just come back. I saw that you were frozen there, just in time. I guess just to quickly introduce myself, I'm James Dempsey, as Paul mentioned, part of the account management team here in Europe. Kind of that means that I consult with a range of Beeswax customers on how to make them successful using Beeswax, essentially. And I guess one of those success stories is Keymantics. I've had the pleasure of working with Arthur and his team for the past nearly 3 years, I guess. And they've been a great partner of ours, kind of using some of our more technical products, actually. And they've been very effective in doing so. So it's been great to watch them continue to grow over the years. Yeah, I'm excited to be joined by Arthur. Over to you to introduce yourself.
Sure. So Arthur, I'm CEO of Keymantics, tech guy. We are a real tech company. We're both tech co-founders, both serial entrepreneurs. Frank, my associate, founded one of the biggest healthcare company in France, health startup, became a unicorn, and I previously sold 2 companies, especially one in adtech that was sold to Addictive, and we had links with the US. So because we were the first French company actually to be incubated by the Y Combinator, pretty proud about that. So yeah.
Great, thank you for that. I guess starting off, why don't you tell us a bit more about your latest venture, Keymantics?
Sure. So Keymantics, probably most of you don't know about it because it's a 100% French company at the moment. We are a semantic audience targeting solution right now. So we were founded in 2017 because we're frustrated about the fact that our vision of programmatic is that you have so much data, so much granularity in the data that you should be able to understand more who your users are, what is the programmatic landscape, and the fact is it's not the reality. The reality is that most programmatic solutions are pretty basic. They don't give you much control about what you can do, about the algorithms you can use, the use of the data you can have in them. And if you're trying to understand really who the people are, you have no idea. And that's why we're always building Keymantics with the vision of transforming programmatic media decision to data-driven media decision, and not just gut feeling, as it happens most of the time. And so for 2 years, we built this tech stack that is what we call inside programmatic data cloud. That is just a stack that allows us to process log level data to get intelligence out of it. And the Keymantics that is public right now, because we do much more behind the curtains, but the programmatic that's known right now is this semantic solution that is 100% handled by AI. So we have absolutely no media trader. All the media trading is done by an AI, and that's because we have this expertise around log level data that we can do all that.
Yeah, makes sense. I guess you touched on this at the start, but you're kind of like a serial entrepreneur. You've already sold 2 companies, and actually I think there's a great history of kind of ad tech entrepreneurship in France. You know, you've got like Augury and Tees as well. Certainly Beeswax, a lot of our European customers are based in France. Curious to get your opinion on how you think the kind of market there has changed over time.
Yeah. So what's funny is that a few months ago, because like we had this such amazing growth in France, like France is starting to feel a bit small. So we were looking into expanding like abroad, not just the US, but also the whole Europe. And so we started like trying to know more about like how these markets work. Definitely like France is, it's weird because like France is very late in terms of trends. Like just to give you a simple simple example, like if you read the French press about ad tech, like it's very much things that are the things that we talk about are just like 6 months later than like what you can read on Ad Exchange or this kind of thing. But it's weird because like there's so much innovation going on in France, mainly because like it's a huge pool of engineers, of really good engineers, and a lot of companies, as you said, like Criteo, like Teeds, like Augury, and many more build like amazing solution from France and innovation that become global afterward. But the market is changing though. 5 years ago, like all you needed was like a nice PowerPoint and some DSP access, and then it would go through. It changed a lot. Like advertisers are really trying to figure out what's going on with the tech they use. They challenge small players, but big players as well. And some try to in-house programmatic advertising. Doesn't always make sense because like in the US, of course, it makes sense. Like the market is so big. In the UK, it's so big. Like, of course, in France, it's not always makes sense. If also like, especially if you're not like international brand or anything like that. So a lot of like failures about that, but they're trying to like get more control about it, get more transparency, of course. But yeah, they want to understand what's going on with the tech, and the expertise has tremendously changed in the last, honestly, in the last 2 years. It's been like crazy how much expertise have been brought in-house in agencies and advertisers.
That's great. Yeah. I guess one of the questions I'm curious to get an answer from you from, I think I might know the answer, but you know, you started with Beeswax kind of before I did, actually. I'm curious to get your opinion on what exactly was it that drew you to select Beeswax as your kind of technology partner when you started up Keymantics.
Yep. So we've come from the tech world, so we know how much like an open ecosystem can bring a lot of so many good things. The first thing we know that is open as tech people is open source. Like many like amazing innovations are open source at the moment, and everybody iterates on that, and some build like crazy stuff. So we know how like openness can be valuable, and we specialized for 3 years in getting as much value as possible in the open RTB, because like we were a small team at the beginning. We didn't have like a publisher team or something like that, so we could not like have relationships with everyone. So we just decided, okay, let's focus on the open RTB. That's what's going on. Like a lot of bad things, but a lot of good things too. And Beeswax, it's pretty much the same. Like it's the open stack that is available. Like when we started at the very beginning, we wanted to be a data provider, and then we understood that we needed to like manage media by ourselves. And so what we did is we kind of scratched around like to see which solution would be good. And we could have built our own DSP, but it requires a lot of resource and a lot of time spent on building basic things like campaign management and everything, like not very interesting stuff for us because we wanted to focus on the low level data and the intelligence we can build upon. And Beeswax was the perfect thing because we looked obviously at other DSPs, and Beeswax, we were really seduced by the fact that Beeswax is maybe not the best DSP out there, but it's the most open. So you can build anything. And we kind of have this hacker mindset. We like to build things by ourselves, like see where we can break things and do things differently. Like one of the things that is like really different about Keymantics is that we don't use any segments, for example. And that's something we've been able to build with Beeswax without having to like have the whole infrastructure. So the fact that it is fully open, that we can just do anything we want, and the fact that we had access to inventory also immediately. So it was like plug and play, develop your things, and you don't have to worry about like having enough spend and everything, because like we knew that we had a year and a half of research and development, so we had to have volume anyway. So that was good, like the best partner at the time.
Yeah, that level of kind of openness and allowing our customers to focus on, I guess, their own unique selling point and their own differentiators is a thing that we hear over and over again. I guess in terms of the kind of I touched at the start, but you guys use a lot of different kind of technical features with Beeswax. Which one or a few of them, I guess, do you think are most kind of integral to your stack at Keymantics?
So there are two. The first one and the one we rely on the most, because like it's the one that touches data, is the data augmentor. So it's basically like you receive your raw bid requests, and now you can do anything you want within 10 milliseconds, I think. But within this time, you can do anything you want. You can enrich it with all the data you have. And typically, like the way we process data is that we don't have segments, because we really believe that like if you target, for example, someone who read about a Toyota Prius, two people are not the same, because if someone read like one time about the Toyota Prius and someone like read 40 pages about this car, they don't have the same intention, and maybe like they have like other intention or interest on the side that may affect the performance of the campaign. So we don't have segments, and that's exactly what the data augmentor allows us to do, like to have this granularity of data and handle it the way we want and not the way the DSP wants. That changes a lot of things, and we don't have to play by the standards. So sometimes it's painful, because at the beginning it was obviously hard, but now it's like one of our big competitive advantage from like besides all the competitors that we have out there. So that's the first one. And the second one is the bidder. So we had this approach of like integrating like the bidding and the media trading at Keymantics is like very mixed. And so the media trading is done at bidding level for some parts. And so the fact that we can do anything we want at the bid level is like really cool, because you can really like manage your servers. It's not hosted by Beeswax. It's not a decision tree that we have to upload and that has to respect certain limits. Like you guys just tell us like you have 10 milliseconds and then like do whatever you want, and that's exactly what we want. So the fact that we can manage it by ourselves, like in our own data center, I mean, that's all we want.
Yeah, true. I guess you can write it in any language as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. To give you an idea, I think the bidding system at Keymantics uses like 3 or 4 different languages for different systems, and like that's something that would not even be imaginable with other solutions.
Sure. One thing you kind of touched on as well is log level data, and I guess I'm curious to get your kind of your thoughts on how that is useful in your stack, and I guess just a question of like which type of logs do you use at the moment with Beeswax?
Yeah. Basically, we use every logs we can have our hands on. That's really our philosophy. The thing is, the log level data is talked about a lot, but people are kind of afraid of like doing things with them. It's really hard. That's one of the difficult things about log level data, is that it requires a lot of resources, server resources, and it's very expensive to process. So to give you an idea, just for France, we process around like 50 terabytes of log level data per day. So add that up to 90 days, that starts to be interesting. Right. And yeah, but the thing is, you have so much information, and I'm not talking only about the cookies. That's really important, and I really want to insist about that. It's not only about that. There's so much more information that you can use, and you can use that for a lot of things. We use that for bidding. We use that for insights that are correlated to like direct media buying. You can use that for media trading, like AI media trading. That's based on that, and so log-level data is an absolute gold mine. You need to have the resources to have it, but you can extract so much intelligence from that it's like very interesting. But you also have to like respect the you can't do everything, and with different with the old log level like levels, I would say. So of course, like there is the bid logs, there are the bid logs, there are the win logs, and then there are like also the logs, that the visit logs that we generate from our advertisers, and then we consolidate that depending on the restrictions we have on each one. And yeah.
Sure. Yeah, and I guess having worked with you guys over the past few years, I've seen how powerful your kind of bidding agent is, and I've seen the kind of performance you guys have been able to drive and beating out your competitors in France. I guess probably my last question is, what does you've nailed that performance piece quite clearly, but what does the future hold for you guys at Keymantics?
Yeah, the performance piece has really been like a challenge because it was like a 3-year work, but now we're proud like that we can consistently, hard to say in English, sorry about that. We can beat like all our competitors and all other DSPs. Like we're approximately twice better than almost everyone. So that's pretty cool. But that's way not enough. Like that's an increment on the market. That's not a big change. And one of the main core value that we have at Keymantics is doing things 10x. And what we are doing now is like trying to have the mindset of advertisers and agency to switch between like neuro gut feeling that I was talking about to like real data-driven media decisions. And so we are now having we're about to launch a new product that allows us to pre-campaign insights, to answer and understand who are the people that the marketing at the advertisers want to target. So to give you a very simple idea, we were asked by one of the biggest retailer in France, I want to target like active urbans, which means absolutely nothing when it comes to data in programmatic or anything. So that's basically what we can do, and we can find these people. How we find them is like by isolating like people that work in offices, like using IPs and cookies and everything, and then we translate that, and then we see which website do they use, which keywords. And so that's really the mindset we are having right now, is like trying to change the way we think and we prepare campaigns, and then doing it also after campaign to understand like people who generate leads on your website, people who like visited and everything, like who are they, what do they like, and most of the time like you find some really funny things. So that's our main challenge, because like that's what I was talking about. Like we are right now a semantic targeting solution, and now we're switching up like to like trying to better accompany the advertisers. So that's one of the thing. International is definitely a thing too. Like we're saying, France is getting small. So Europe and the US are definitely go-tos for us. And then like, as always, we still keep digging into the log level data, and whatever we find and can build around that, like we'll do.
Cool. I guess my last question, and then we'll move on to the Q&A. I'm curious to get your thoughts. You know, everyone's talking about how the third-party cookies going away from the next couple of years. I'm sorry I have to bring it up. What are your thoughts on, I guess, a lot of people think context is going to become key in kind of optimizing and targeting campaigns. Keymantics would be pretty well placed for that. What are your thoughts on context in a cookieless world?
Definitely. Right now, to give you an idea, and that I think that brings a part of the solution of the answer is that when we create audiences based on like a list of keywords, and then we run the campaigns on like 100% context and then behavioral and cookie retargeting. 90% of the volume, maybe more now, is delivered on like cookie retargeting and behavioral. So context is definitely a part of the solution, and context will definitely grow in the coming years, but it's not a solution at all. Like, and we know that like we use cookies a lot. Like I think everyone in the room, but it's like it's pure context and pure semantic is not a solution. Like, for example, if you're a bank, you want to target people that, I don't know, like want to buy stocks. Like these people also read about like the news, like everyone else. And how are you going to differentiate these people? Because they don't spend all their time like looking at stocks thing, like at stock content. Like they also like, and most of the volume is on news websites, is on like websites that don't bring any intention or any signal. So we have to find solution about that. We maybe will be drivers of that. I honestly don't think so. I think there are lots of companies doing an amazing job in like trying to figure out solutions for ID advertising, because it's not only about cookies. Like
right.
apps will have the same problem in the coming years. So for ID advertising, like for example, ID5 is doing a great job about that. LiveRamp is doing a great job about that. So like openness again, like companies have, and all the players on the field, like everybody has to open, and like that's what will bring innovation, and that's what will solve the cookie calypse, as Ari calls it. But that's definitely the go-to solution, and because like thinking that context will solve it, definitely not.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. I'll move it over to, it looks like Paul has unmuted himself.
Yes, rejoined. Hi. Well, let's go right to the QA. And if anybody has a question, feel free to submit it using the Q&A feature in Zoom. You can also choose to ask your question live by raising your hand, but of course you don't need to. So first question for our panel, what extra elements would you need to consider if you are thinking of extending to in-app environments?
That's a good question. That's something we're exploring kind of right now. So we can answer a bit. So definitely there is the like cross between, because right now we use cookies. So one of the first thing is to now use IDs that behave differently. If you ask me right now in the current context, like IDs are better than cookies because they stay longer. And then there is a big thing that is keywords, because apps are not content. So you have to like find other way of qualifying people. So the kind of apps they use, the categories of apps they use, maybe the time they spend on it. Maybe we'll need to like work more with publishers, which is good because now we can do it a bit more. So a lot of things we are kind of exploring that. We definitely identified like clusters of users and this kind of thing. And one of the things that it seems very promising, and like that's kind of surprising. My co-founder was saying that it would work, and I was like super unconvinced about it, but he proved me wrong. Is the fact that we can use keywords based on the keyword descriptions based on the descriptions on the App Store, and to my surprise, it kind of worked. So interesting things around that. And then there are the formats, because like conversion rate is often not the same, but that would also allow us to maybe go to mobile gaming, which is of course a big market, which we don't address at the moment.
All right. Our next question. Do you also use external data providers to extend user info? If yes, at which stage of the Beeswax stack do you plug in such a source?
Yep. So I'll be like completely honest. We did try data providers. we never got like good results, like ever, compared to what we do ourselves. So like that's not something we use anymore. I would not be the best person to say exactly where we plug that. Maybe James, you know about that because I'm sure you talked about that with Frank.
Yeah, so I guess you could plug it in at the Augmentor level as well, but I do remember this conversation coming up maybe about a year and a half ago, and I think that the performance wasn't there for you guys, so it was shut off.
Yep.
Okay, I have a question personally. So you talked a lot about log files. Without revealing any of your secret sauce, can you tell me what was maybe like a surprising revelation, application, or just something that was really useful when you're using log files that perhaps you wouldn't be able to do if you didn't have access to the raw auction logs the way you can get with Beeswax?
Yep. Well, surprises come pretty much every day when you look into the logs. One that is like very exciting and actually happened this morning. We had our data science team showing us like the results of the research. We are able to do like demographic inference based on like based on the logs by looking at. So we use like demographic data sources that I won't cite, but they just give us like the repartition of websites, of given websites, and we just do inference based on that, and it works so good. Like we use, I don't know if it's called the same in the US or in the UK. We use DAR, which is the tool by Nielsen to measure like how many women or men went on or exposed to the campaign, and we are getting like so good results. And we tried everything. Like we tried like external data providers that where it didn't really help. Like we tried a lot of things, and that works spectacularly well and at a fraction of the price, because like we have the whole stack. So, but at a fraction of the price, it works so well. And I'm sure that's something that will be loved by the competitors and gives us a like really big advantage to other players.
Yeah, definitely. So that's really interesting and not surprising that you found a lot of surprises in the logs because there's a lot of interesting stuff there. We have two more questions, but before I get to them, I just want to plug our next event, which is going to be Thursday with our VP Client Services, Mike Munley. He's entitled it, "What the Heck is a Postback?" And I don't think I could tell you what a postback is myself. So I'm going to tune in. And I know it has to do with attribution, so you should too. I've sent a link to the entire Zoom room you can use to register for that. But let's go on to the next question. So it is, do you have any process to clean the log level data prior to using it? It's no secret that certain elements in bid requests from publishers, as well as the impact of data legislation, has reduced the quality of the data.
Yep, definitely. To like, and I'll bounce back on the surprise thing that we were talking about. Like one of the first thing we noticed in the logs is the amount of personal information that is like transferred by the publishers in just the URLs, like emails, phone numbers, and a lot like of personal information. So Keymantics never operated before GDPR, so I couldn't like tell you an impact or to give you an impact or anything about that. But yeah, so we don't store any like log that contains. So we have rules and clean the logs and just like erase these parts of the URLs and all the. So we check the consent by ourselves and we don't log anything that is not where we don't receive the consent. Like a lot of like log deletion and a lot of log cleaning, and usually that does the job. And then like but it's not about like only storing the logs, it's knowing what you can do with them, and that restricts a lot of process that we can do also as well.
All right. And last question, you've been growing based on delivering against performance metrics. Is there also an opportunity in branding, in quotes, budgets? How do you think about the different teams at the customers you work with?
Yep, definitely big. It was a big challenge. I mean, not that big, but big challenge for us this last year. So we were doing like only traffic campaigns for major advertisers at the moment, and they were asking us like do video, because like that would make sense to target with keywords. And so during our summer event at Keymantics, we just challenged the data science team and told them like, look, video is like branding, but it's so performance when you look at it technically. Video is, the thing is that you have to optimize 3 KPIs, which are the completion rate, the visibility rate, and the audience like coverage. And so that's really, really close to performance algorithms. And so within 2 weeks, we just like add a new model that was inspired by the previous one. And within 2 weeks, like, because we have our own stack, because we have full control, and we feel really good about like pushing things, and that's how we build the thing. Within 2 weeks, we actually beat like pretty much everyone on the market in terms of completion rate and visibility rate, just because like in the logs, we work with a moat to measure visibility, like it's in the logs, and we just process that and it works. So yeah, definitely a lot of things to do on branding. And when it comes to more traditional branding that is not video, so display, definitely understanding your audience. Like, so much surprises between like your gut feelings that you have. Maybe you think that this car is like really made for young people, and then you look at the data and you just understand that it's mainly moms with 2 kids who really like it. We had this exact use case with a big French automotive maker. So yeah, in branding, a lot of things like understanding, and it's especially important in branding, like who cares about the audience? Like as long as it works and you drive sales, when you do performance, like don't really care about the audience. I think it's a mistake to try to target. If you have like the good algorithm, the good AI, the good data, it's okay. But when it comes to branding, you really want to understand like who you target, how you target them. Like, you don't want to be in a black box of an algorithm or of a DSP. Like, you want to really have a grip of who you target and why you target them. And that's why like now we have for each like user, we don't do it like user level, but we do it for masses, like for legal reason. But for each user, we could say, okay, this person, she has an affinity score of 5, 10, 15 for this other keyword. And that's allow us to show what the AI is doing. Because one of the questions we had the most, because we had so good performances, were how, and all the teams like at the agencies like were asking us like, how do you get this performance? And we're answering, well, it's the AI, like a lot of things. And now like we have a big project around human AI collaboration that allows us to understand what's going on and to get insights out of it. Like we try to make the AI speak about what she's doing.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. And you mentioned, it was either in this session or the French one, that Keymantics uses some of our data augmentor functionality, which is something not offered by any other DSP. So I did want to just mention briefly that we are going to have a deep dive session from our co-founder and chief product officer on data augmentor functionality. That's going to be May 19th, and I've sent a link for anyone who'd like to register for that to everyone in the room. So look at the chat box, and you can see there's 2 great sessions that are coming up that you can sign up for. So with that, I want to thank our panelists, especially Arthur from Keymantics, for giving his time to tell us all the secrets of how he's built this amazing business using VAS, and James for hosting. And so with that, I hope that everyone watching is staying safe and social distancing and getting through this. And we'll keep churning out content that we hope will help you grow your businesses. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thanks, guys.